at large for a seat on the DC Council. And so I wanted to take this opportunity to connect with you again. Let me make sure that we actually have an audience on Facebook. Sometimes we try to get connected, and unfortunately, this thing tells us that we're not. And so we're talking to ourselves, and we don't want to do that, right, Joyce?
No, we shouldn't do
That's
that.
right. Here's Joyce with me. Let me just introduce here. Joyce, say hello to the audience. Should we be on online? But let me just make sure that we are, Joyce, before we continue. I have no reason to think that we're not, but just in case we are. So we're good. All right. Okay, folks. So thank you so much for watching. Remember, you can also watch us online on YouTube. And if you're watching us online on YouTube, please subscribe. We're trying to get to 1,000 subscribers. We're doing quite well, but we need a few more to make it there. And you're also watching on Twitter. Be sure to retweet so that we can get more people to get the vital information we're going to be talking or discussing tonight. And of course, our Facebook people, be sure. We wanted to make this a more engaging conversation. So if you're watching us on Facebook, please put comments or any questions you have, whether it be for the candidate Franklin Garcia or your representative advocating for statehood in Congress. Be sure to leave a comment, or if you have any questions, please do that. But before I get into talking with we have a esteemed guest tonight. Her name is Anise Jenkins, and of course, Joyce. You saw Joyce last time when she actually joined us. I think I want to say, what was it, Joyce? About a week ago?
Yes.
That's right. You had a musician here, Mr. Stewart, right?
Yes.
Wonderful. Yeah. And so what I wanted to do before we get started talking to our guest, I wanted to share with you some vital information as it relates to voting, the state of coronavirus, and some other critical information that I think you may appreciate. Let me start with the numbers for the pandemic. As you have probably seen on television and everywhere, we are at a record height. Let me share with you my screen there. You can see that we currently have 8.28 million people that have tested for positive for the COVID-19 virus. And 221,000 people have lost their lives to this pandemic. Truly bad numbers. We lead the world in both infections and death. So we want to try to make sure that changes. Locally, let me show you. Remember, you can always go to coronavirus.dc.gov, and that's where you can get the latest information on what is going on in DC. And if you click on data right here, it tells you right away what our numbers are like. And you can see we lost 642 people to coronavirus. Just tragic that over 640 Washingtonians have lost their lives to this. And we continue to tell you to please adhere to the protocol that, be sure to, whenever we are currently in the same studio, but we have at least 6 feet apart. And that's why we're not wearing, although Joyce is ready to wear hers. You can see her right there. And what does it say? Statehood?
Yeah.
Wonderful. Yeah. But we're socially distanced right now. And that's why even though we're in the same room, we are not wearing a face mask because we're not next to each other. But if you are outside or inside, be sure to wear your mask. Be sure to wash your hands frequently and avoid crowds whenever possible. I know that you have to get out and work and do some other activities, but be sure to do it responsibly. And it's not just about you, right? It's about protecting others, those that you care about. And so those are the numbers for that. Let me jump right into the election of our city. You know that November 3rd is a key date. And I wanted to just go through these numbers that we have here that you need to remember. Be sure to visit dcboe.org. That's the Board of Elections website. And in there, you can find all kinds of critical information, from how do I vote to where do I vote and when do I vote. All the information is here. Let me see if anybody has any questions on Facebook. I see some people are tuning in right now, but we have no questions. Okay, very good. So let me continue showing you the, I'm going to show you the screen right now. And this is the DC Board of Elections website. In here, you can find out the dates for early vote. Early vote starts next week on the 27th, and it goes through the day before election, which is November 2nd. So from the 27th till November 2nd, you can vote early. And here are the voting centers that you can go to. If you go to the Board of Elections website, you can find all these places where you can vote. Every ward has, I want to say, at least 4 places where you can go vote. So just be sure to go to this website and find them. If you wait for election day, then you're going to have 95 places where you can go. And here they are. Again, by going to dcboe.org, you can find all this information right here. So if you live in DC, check that out. We are recommending that you vote by mail. Everybody in the city who is a registered voter should have received a ballot. What you do is you put it, I don't have it with me right now, but you've seen it. I've shown it to you a few times in the many Facebook I have done since receiving the ballot. And I've shown it to you, and there's a copy of it on my Facebook page also if you need to see what it looks like. But the idea is that the moment you know who you're voting for, you want to be sure and send it out through the mail, or we have a bunch of dropbacks, right, Joyce?
Yes.
We got them throughout the city. And where do we find where they are? Well, let me change you and see. You can see this mail-in ballot drop box right here, locations, and you can see they're all over the city. There are about 50 of them, I think,
yes,
somewhere around there. But they're pretty much all over, right?
They're usually libraries and centers, recreation centers, and police stations.
Yeah, that's right. So be sure to go to dcboe.org if you need to find out where those locations are. But here are the key dates that you need to remember. The first one is Election Day. That's November 3rd. And then you have to remember that when you send in your ballot, it doesn't matter how you do it, the Board of Election has to receive it no more than 7 days after Election Day. And that's something that we were talking briefly in other news as it relates to the state of Pennsylvania. They just went through that process where Republicans did not want them to accept any ballots after Election Day, right? In other words, if you live in the state of Pennsylvania. Anyways, let me leave that for later to not confuse you. But again, the dates you need to remember is you need to have this in your Dropbox or mailbox no later than November the 3rd. That's the last day that you have to have it, that you have to vote, November the 3rd. Now, if you do it by mail, note that the Board of Elections needs some time to receive it, right? But it can't have more than 7 days. So it has to be at the Board of Election by the 10th of November. Otherwise, your vote won't count. But also, you can't vote on the 4th of November and hope that they get it before the 10th and it count. No, your mailbox, your ballot would be stamped by the post office. And if it is stamped after the 3rd, it won't count. So there's 2 key dates. You must have it to them by the 10th at the latest, and you must physically vote by the 3rd. However you do it, you must do it by the 3rd. Those are the 2. Anything you want to add to that, Joyce?
Yes. The absentee ballot that you got in your home, you can do that right away. So try not to wait till the last minute to get your ballot in. Go on Google and other places to find out about the candidates and get that ballot in today, tomorrow, the next day. And then on the 27th, you'll be able to vote at the voting centers. But you can still do it if you have the ballots right away. And that's what I would suggest, so that nobody gets bogged down in ballots later on and all the way up to the last day. So do that. You got your ballot. You need to look at who's running. You need to vote for the people on the ballot, and please get it in, just like a hot potato.
Very nice, very nice. And I think our guest is waiting. So just one more thing. Let me just provide some additional key information. I mentioned the situation in Pennsylvania, and so here's what goes on there. Now, the Supreme Court on Monday will allow Pennsylvania to count mail-in ballots received 3 days past Election Day. The court split 4-4 on the decision, which means the lower court's ruling will stand. With 20 electoral votes up for grabs, the importance of Pennsylvania as a swing state is underscored by this decision. Pennsylvania Republicans have tried to stop this, but the appeals court let it stand. Judge Barrett, and this is a good point to make, been on the court, this might have ended differently. This gives support for Democrats' call that Judge Barrett recuse herself from any cases regarding this election. So basically what they're saying is that in the state of Pennsylvania, remember how we talked in DC, that after you vote and you mail it in, say that you voted exactly on the 3rd and you happen to take that ballot to the post office, the city, DC, will allow you up to 7 days for kind of like a grace period for the Board of Election to actually receive it, right? And that makes sense, right, Joyce?
Yes, that makes sense.
Now, what the people in Pennsylvania were asking for was, they were saying, yeah, but if we're going to mail this, how could it possibly reach the Board of Election on the same day that we vote, if we happen to vote by mail on the same day of election? And so what the Supreme Court said is, okay, we will give you a 3-day grace period. So if obviously everybody's encouraging people in the state of Pennsylvania not to wait for the 3rd of November and to drop their ballot in the mailbox, in the mail, through the mail system, they're asking people to just go ahead and do it today or in person at a voting place. But if you happen to do it by mail, then the state is giving you 3 days to ensure that your vote counts, and hopefully it will be received by the Board of Election in Pennsylvania by those 3 days. That makes sense.
Yes, it does.
Very good. The other news that we wanted to share is how what's going on in North Carolina. Now, a post-ABC poll has Biden basically in a dead heat with President Trump. And as you know, this is one of those swing states with 15 electoral votes up for grabs. So it's an important battleground state. But it's again, even in the polls are showing that it is in a dead heat. Another news that I wanted to share with you is the situation in Florida. Now, Monday was the first day of early voting in Florida. Statewide numbers from yesterday showed that today's Tuesday, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, that's right. So statewide numbers from yesterday showed that slightly more registered Republicans voted yesterday than registered Democrats. Almost 340,000 votes were cast in the first day, more than 4 years ago when 290,000 votes were cast on the first day. 2.7 million Floridians have mailed in their ballots, with 49% of those being from Democrats and 30% from Republicans. Biden and Trump are in a dead heat in that state as well. So let's see what happens there. That's a critical state to claim victory to the White House. And the last news I'm going to share outside of the city is that both Biden and Trump continue to court the Latino vote, with it being another key demographic that can deliver the White House. Biden has 63% of the Latino support nationally, basically the same number that Hillary Clinton had, but short of Obama's 71% in 2012. Florida and Arizona are swing states where Latino support is needed to win those states. But Michigan, North Carolina, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin could also be determined by Latino support. Given how diverse the Latino community, it is difficult to gain the support from all for example, the Cuban American community has consistently supported Republicans, and while other communities have not within the Latinos. Now, Biden's lack of Spanish media may have led to this lack of support. So that's really all I wanted to share with you. I want to now bring our guests. I hope that she is still there. I think that Anise, I think we lost Anise. Yeah, unfortunately, it doesn't look like our guest was able to make the call. She was there a minute ago, right?
Yeah.
But let's see. While we wait for Anise, let's keep on talking, Joyce, about these different issues. I know that you are working on your statehood effort.
Yes.
And how is that going?
Well, that's going good. I am. My name is Joyce Robinson Paul, and I'm running for U.S. Representative, which is the site that Garcia will be leaving. The key is statehood. We received something from our Congresswoman stating that there are three things that have come forth in reference to statehood. One is to see if we would recede to Maryland, and another to just make sure that we think of other ways to get statehood besides being a new state. Well, we're going all the way. We want statehood for DC now. We pay and we should have some say. So we're not going for anything other than statehood. That's the only thing that would make us a state, and Congress would not be able to snatch it back. So that's where we're at right now with this election. So that's very important. We need, what we've been doing, Garcia and myself, is not just putting out flyers everywhere about our election, but also about information on statehood. We would like to see everybody fluent and have expertise in why we should become a state. So that's what we're doing. We're making sure that literature that goes out, and this is our statehood ambassadors. Many of our statehood ambassadors are working with me to ensure that literature gets out to all these households, and so that they know that it's not just saying vote, it's get the information. So important to get the information on statehood.
That's right. So important. I'm so sorry. My internet went down. So I don't know if you are trying to reach me or not.
We're good. Okay, folks. So we have been joined by our esteemed guest, Anise Jenkins, and you're going to see Anise in a second here. We just wanted to make sure that we gave her the right introduction. Now, Anise has been a champion for DC statehood for a very, very long time. If you think about statehood, the word statehood is synonymous with Anise Jenkins, probably one of the loudest voices for our movement. And we are so honored to have you here with us today, Anise. And let me just go ahead and turn it over to you, Anise.
I'm so happy to be here. I'm so honored to be here. You have great guests on your program, and you are a long-time advocate of DC statehood. Statehood will give us all the citizenship rights that people in DC do not have. We pay the highest federal taxes per person, but have absolutely nobody to vote or represent us in the United States House or the United States Senate. It's absolutely insulting. It's ridiculous. And we are on our way. The DC Statehood Bill, H.R. 51, passed on June 26, 2020. So we are halfway on our way. The only thing we need to do is get our bill S-631 through the United States Senate, and we will be the 51st state. We will have a star on the United States flag, symbolizing that we are the 51st state in the United States of America. We've been working very hard on that. Franklin Garcia has been working hard. You have Joyce Robinson Paul has been working very hard. Io Moore has been working hard. We have a group of, as Joyce just said, DC statehood ambassadors have all been working hard. We have other groups too who have been working hard on getting our full citizenship rights. Right now, we are not equal citizens in the District of Columbia. If you went to Maryland, you went to Virginia, you would have more rights than you have right here in the nation's capital. It's a high insult to us.
That's right. Thank you so much for all that information, Joyce. Anise, rather, sorry about that, Anise. And I am actually sharing with folks online the statehood bill that you mentioned, S631. And I think it's important to remind people that, you know, how this works is, let's have people understand that it is very, very possible that the District of Columbia can become the 51st state before we know it, real soon. And again, one thing that we want to stress when we talk about our national capital becoming the 51st state, we're not talking about getting rid of our national capital. We're saying let's reduce the size of our national capital to include really the federal enclave that Article 8, Section 1 talks about in the Constitution. And let's keep it intact, right? The Congress to the Kennedy Center, all that and all the monuments, that would be the national capital. And then the other parts, the residential parts, really, where you go to school, that would be your 51st state. And one thing that happens is when I started working as the representative in Congress, it was the 114th Congress. And what you'll notice is that when you get co-sponsors to come on board for our DC statehood bill, the following Congress, pretty much all those people that you worked to get on board follow again with the introduction of the new bill in the new Congress. And so I say that because we know that this Congress is going to be over soon. And it is there's a possibility that it may not, our statehood bill may not make it to the Senate, or that it may not pass in the Senate. That's not to say that our efforts are dead, because in the next Congress, in the 117th Congress, what will happen is all the co-sponsors that we already worked to get on that statehood bill will basically come on board. That's how it's happened, at least in the last 2-3 Congresses that I've been around. So not to say that we have no work to do in the House of Representatives, because you don't know what's going to happen. Some of the co-sponsors could lose their seat and what have you, but the likelihood that most co-sponsors are going to come back in the 117th Congress with the introduction of the new statehood bill is very, very high, which means that we now then need to move to the Senate and see how we get the support we need in the Senate. And Anise and I talked a little bit about this earlier today. And I have a list here so that you can, let me put this on the screen for you to see. What you have here is very important information. It tells you that we have 35, so we have 100 senators. Those 35 are going to go through re-election, of which 17 are Republicans. You're seeing them right here. All these are Republicans, and 12 are Democrats. And so currently the composition or the makeup of the Senate is we have 53 Republicans. You see that number there. And you've got 45 Democrats plus 2 independents that caucus with Democrats. So in essence, we have 47 people that will be voting for statehood. A majority, the highest number that we can have, assuming that no Republicans support statehood for DC, which is not necessarily true at all. We need to get away from this partisan issue for statehood. But at any rate, we've got 47 that potentially could support statehood versus 53. So what we would need is 4 more senators from states that are leaning Democrat or that whose re-election bid is very shaky, right? And so you see right here, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 of those 17 Republicans that are on very, very shaky ground, as you can see on that list there. And so what we need to do is, those of you who live in Washington, D.C., there is a campaign, letter writing campaign. There is a money donations campaign. I just donated to a candidate out of the state, out of the city, that would hopefully, my money would hopefully help turn that race Democrat. And so you can see them all here. You can see you're talking about Susan Collins from Maine. You're talking about Steve Daines from MT. What state is MT?
Montana.
Montana. Very good. Montana. And then Montana. That's also potentially a toss-up seat. And then you've got Joni Ernst from Iowa. You got Cory Gardner from Colorado. David Perdue from Georgia. And even though it wasn't listed here as a toss-up, Lindsey Graham from South Carolina could potentially be another toss-up. It wasn't listed in this report, but and I failed to mention also Martha McSally from Arizona, and not sure if I mentioned Tom Tillis from North Carolina. I don't think I mentioned those because I started with North Carolina. Yeah, I think I started out with Susan Collins. So all those names that you see here in purple could potentially go Democrat. And so we only need, remember, the Democrats only need 4 to turn the Senate. So if any of these 4, provided that all these others Democrat seats are kept within the Democratic establishment. The only one that's in shaky ground is the Doug Jones from Alabama. You'll remember that was a very hotly contested race. And that one, it could potentially be on shaky grounds for the Democrats. But other than that, everything indicates that Democrats are solid with their potential re-election candidates. It is the Republicans that have some challenges, right? We see a lot of them, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 of them could potentially lose their seat. So that's good. Anything you want to add to that, Joyce?
Let's get rid of all of them, the Republicans. Because
Franklin, isn't Mitch McConnell in some hot water right now?
That's right. That's right.
He's running hard.
That's right. Amy McGrath.
Mitch McConnell from Kentucky.
That's right. Amy McGrath is a woman who is actually taking on him, and that's the campaign that I donated $100 to see how that goes. But that's right. For some reason, he's not listed, as a potential toss-up, but we can help make it be, right?
Yes.
We can help make it be.
That's right.
I know Ms. Amy McGrath is working very, very hard, and she's been doing it for a long time, trying to unseat the head of the Republicans, really, after Trump. I think that would be the highest ranking Republican. So, yeah, we definitely want to see him go away.
And we're concerned because that is the senator that's holding up the stimulus money. He's holding up the voting rights issue and also statehood. That's ridiculous. If they were so quick to do the Supreme Court, well, they should have been thinking about the people who are suffering while the stimulus goes on and they have no jobs.
All right. Well, let's say hi. Go ahead, Anise. Yep, you're on, Anise.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I do agree with what Joyce just said. Why in the world would they, what should be considered illegal, trying to rush this woman into the Supreme Court when people have hungry children at home that they cannot feed, cannot pay their rent because they lost their jobs, not due to anything that they did wrong. This is a disgrace. It's a disgrace with the Senate doing this under Lindsey Graham, who has the Judiciary Committee. We need to keep pushing. This is wrong. Mitch McConnell from Kentucky needs to go. And a lot of people do not like him. They don't like the way he's running the Senate, and he needs to be replaced. Mitch McConnell needs to go. And Amy McGrath needs to take his place and do what's right for the people.
Well said.
Amen.
Well said. Amen to that. I think we all agree, right, Joyce?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, let's say hello to some folks who are watching us on Facebook. I know that I wanted to quickly just be sure to say thank you for watching to all those on Facebook. Sandra Morgan, thank you so much. She sends you hello, Anise. And
hey, Sandy.
There you go. And Mr. Garcia, too, must be related, right? Thank you so much. Muchas gracias por ver. And our good friend Gerardo, who himself covers the media locally. Thank you so much for watching also. And everybody else who's watching, we just want to make sure that we say thank you. Thank you. Thank you. But we're running out of time now. We got about 2 minutes left. I guess, Anise, you want to say anything about voting? We already talked at length about voting, and we told people where to vote.
Important.
Yeah, go ahead.
It is very important that you have your voice heard. In the District of Columbia, it's a lot of things that we cannot do, but we can go out and vote for the president. Vote for the one who's going to support DC statehood. It's very clear. Our current president does not support statehood. I'm not going to say which other candidate does, but vote for the one who respects you as an American citizen.
Wonderful. That is well said.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for that information, Anise. And so we've come to the end of our program right now. I want to thank Joyce. If you want to say a few words.
We really know that we're almost at the end because my signs are being taken down, cut down, pulled down, and that's because we live in a Democratic area. But I'm saying give us a chance, the Statehood Green Party, to have a vote. I mean, to get someone in so that we don't have a government that's all the same, but different people. We need a bilingual Latino. We need a Statehood Green. We need an assortment of people on that in our government. Don't try to just vote for the same people over and over.
Okay, I concur with you, Joyce, and thank you. I want to thank both of my guests, Anise Jenkins and Joyce Paul Robinson. Thank you both for being with us tonight. We thank everybody who also watched online, both on all three on Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook. And we remind people to please go out and vote. Right?
Vote.
Right away.
Thank you so much.
Right. Vote. Your life depends on it. Vote like your life depends on it, because it does.
Wonderful. Okay, bye-bye. All right, we got it.